Hi viewers, welcome to T4U Tutorials, and this is a mission help video where I will be flying the Vomit Comet mission available in the FSX Acceleration Pack. Note that this mission is not there in any other versions of FSX like FSX Deluxe or Gold versions. This mission is a little difficult, especially when flying with your keyboard, so let's see how this mission is flown.
Alright, it's parabola time. Always fun for us, and even more fun for the guys in back doing the zero-G training. I filed for a block of airspace to the east of Edwards VOR. We'll take off and fly on runway heading to 24,000 feet. We'll cross the VOR about 10 miles after takeoff. Once we get to 24,000, we can start flying our first parabola. As long as we stay between 10,000 and 40,000 feet and remain within 50 miles east of the VOR, we can do whatever we want. Oh, the guys in back requested a high-speed climb out, so here's what we'll do. After takeoff, get the gear and flaps up, then accelerate at full thrust just above the runway. When we reach redline somewhere near the end of the runway, pull the nose up into a steep 60-degree climb. Remember, maintain runway heading and climb up to 24,000 feet. We only have the airspace for an hour, so let's get going. All set? I'll handle the radios. Edwards Tower, NASA 37, ready to go. Runway 4, request high performance departure.
NASA 37, high performance departure approved. Winds calm, runway 4 cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, NASA 37. Here we go. Check flaps 5 and turn left onto the runway. Take off when you're ready.
I will set my flaps to 5, auto brakes to RTO, flight detector on, and speed set to 300 knots. You are not supposed to speed above 250 knots when you are below 10,000 feet, but here this space is assigned for our work, so you have no restrictions on speed here. And okay, that's it. We are ready for the takeoff. We are going to perform a high-speed departure now. Okay, so let's take off.
Knots. V1, rotate. V2, keep the nose down so our speed increases. Positive rate, gear up.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Here comes redline. Slowly pitch to 60 degrees, nose up. back to 200 knots, lower the nose to 15 degrees and climb to 24,000 feet.
Engage the
NASA 37,
autopilot.
contact sport departure.
NASA 37 switching. Sport departure, NASA 37 with you off Edwards in a steep climb to flight level 240.
NASA 37 radar contact. Fly heading 040, climb and maintain flight level 240.
040 and up to flight level 240, NASA 37.
NASA 37, you're cleared to work east of the Edwards VOR within a 50 nautical mile radius. Maintain from 10,000 to flight level 400.
Cleared to work east of the VOR as filed, NASA 37.
I am using a high vertical speed, sum of 4,000. I'm setting 4,000 as my vertical speed, so that I could reach 24,000 as soon as possible.
The instructors in back need 4 cycles of 0G with at least 20 seconds at 0G on each cycle. Start each parabola level at 24,000 feet and 330 knots. Then slowly pitch up to 45 degrees nose up. As the airspeed comes back through 200 knots, slowly pitch over. Maintain 0G as long as possible during the pushover. When the G's start building, nose over to 45 degrees nose down. Don't climb above 40,000 feet and don't descend below 10,000. And be careful not to exceed 330 knots in the descent. Use idle thrust and the speed brakes if necessary, and try to gently level off back at 24,000 feet to set up for the next parabola.
So I have used a vertical speed of 6,000 now because I want to reach 24,000 as soon as possible. At the same time, keep an eye on your airspeed when you are using a very high vertical speed. Don't allow it to drop below 180 knots because it may result in stalling. So when we are going below 200 knots, I reduce my vertical speed. Anyway, I have reached 21,000, so I have to level off at 24,000 feet, and for that, for a smooth leveling at 24,000 feet, I will reduce my vertical speed a little to 4,000 feet.
1,000 to go. Level off at 24,000 feet.
Okay, so I have to reduce my vertical speed a little more. Reduce it. Okay, we have reached 24,000 feet. Now all what we have to do is to increase our speed to 330 knots. Because to perform our parabola, we need to be at 330 knots and 24,000 feet. And the speed is right. It's now at 217 knots, 220 knots. Let's wait for the speed to reach 330 knots. Set your auto brakes back.
We need to be at 24,000 feet and 330 knots before we can start the next parabola.
So let me explain how to maintain the 0G while you push over. Here is your gauge, and this needle is now pointing at 1.0, which means your G is now 1. When you pitch up to 40 degrees and then push over, you will see that this needle going to 0. So when you push your stick forward, you can see the needle going to 0. And after that, if the needle is moving towards -2, you have to pull back your stick, and if your needle is coming back to +2, you have to push your needle forward. So that's how I'll do. If it goes to -2, I'll pull back my
Start the
stick.
first parabola when you're ready. Remember to stay within 50 miles of the VOR.
Okay, so it's time. I'll show you how to do that. Good clicking start button now. I'm switching off the altitude hold switch, and now I'm pulling my stick back so that, and to pitch up to 40 degrees. Okay, I reached 40 degrees.
Okay, begin the push over to 0G. Okay, 0G, hold it for 20 seconds.
Push forward, push forward, push forward. Okay, pull back now, pull back. Again, pushing forward. Pull back, pull back. Push forward.
That's one good cycle. Okay, let's get set up for the next parabola. Get to 24,000 feet and 330 knots.
Okay, so let's click the altitude hold switch and then level off at 24,000 feet once again for our second parabola. And keep your stick in the normal position before we start our next parabola. Okay, we are now at 24,000 feet, 330 knots, so let's go for our second parabola. Switching off the altitude hold switch, pulling back so that I could go to 40 degrees pitch.
Okay, begin the push over to 0G. Okay, 0G, hold it for 20 seconds.
Push forward, pull back, push forward, pull back, pull back. Pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back. Then push forward, pull back.
That's two good cycles. Ready for the next one? Start by getting us to 24,000 feet and 330 knots.
Okay, so let us level off at 24,000 now. And okay, we are level at 24,000 feet, so let's start our next parabola. Pulling back my stick to reach 40 degrees pitch. Okay, I think it's time to push.
Okay, begin the push over to 0G. Okay, 0G, hold it for 20 seconds. That's three good cycles. Time for another one. Set us up by flying level at 24,000 feet and 330 knots.
So I have completed 3 parabola successfully. I'm going for the 4th one. that, we disengage the altitude hold switch, pulling back my stick now to pitch up to 40 degrees.
Okay, begin the push over to 0G.
Pushing over.
Okay, 0G. Hold it for 20 seconds. Good job. That's 4 good cycles. Okay, let's return to Edwards. Fly toward the VOR.
Switch on the altitude hold. Now here you have to turn back now. So we will be using the GPS now to head to Edwards. Pause the simulation for some time. I'll show you how to set up your GPS to fly back to Edwards VOR. Here is your next waypoint button. Click on that, and then here you can enter your Edwards VOR. Here this is the keyword for Edwards VOR, which is EDW. So type EDW in this space. To type EDW, here you have two set of arrow marks. The set of arrow marks in the bottom, the two arrow marks, they are used to change the letters. So I have to set E here, E. Now to move the cursor to right, click on the set of arrow marks which is on the top. I have moved it to the right. Now again click this arrow mark to set D here. Now again move your cursor to the right, set W. So this will be easy to set. Okay, so I set my EDW here. Now they have written Edwards in the bottom, so click ENT, which is for enter. Okay, the 3 letters is entered. Click once again and you can see that your activate is blinking now. Click enter once again to activate, and now you can see that your pink line is there below the flight, which means your route to AOR is set. Now close your GPS by pressing Shift 3. Resume the simulation. Switch your nav
NASA 37 heading back to Edwards.
NASA 37 expects a visual runway 4 approach. Proceed direct to the Edwards VOR. Cross the VOR at 4,500.
Direct to the VOR and down to 4,500, NASA 37. Head for the VOR and start descending to 4,500. We want to be at 4,500 by the time we get there, so we're set up for the approach.
Okay, so let us reduce our altitude to 4,500. After setting the waypoint, I just switched to the nav/GPS mode back to GPS, and then I switched on my VOR LOC, this button, and now the flight is turning automatically. If you switch on your GPS, you can see that your flight is turning automatically to align with the pink line here. We can now reduce our airspeed a little to 280 knots. So it will take some time for the flight to turn a full 360 degree, sorry, a 180 degree, and then resume the route. You can see that this white color icon is the flight and this pink line shows the error which we have entered now in the GPS. And the pink line is also now displayed in the multifunction display of the flight. The triangle shows your flight, and here is your route. And sometime the triangle will join this pink line and then will travel through this pink line. You can now reduce your speed to 250 knots. And triangle is moving now towards the pink line, so I am skipping a little. Okay, we are just 3 nautical miles away from the Edwards VR, so let us pause the simulation for some time. Okay guys, it's time for us to set up our flight for landing. For that, go to the map, display / hide map button here, click on it, and now here you have the runway, and here this green arrow mark indicates the localizer of your flight, of your landing runway. So click on this, and here you have the facility information. Your frequency is 110.10 and the runway heading is 224. Copy these values, 11.10 and 224. The heading value will be set in the course section here. So here I'm setting it as 224, and now bring up your radio stack by pressing Shift 2, and the ILS frequency will be pasted in this section, the standby section of nav radio, 110.10. okay, I've set it as 110.10. Now here is the switch to swap these values. So I have switched with the standby value now to active, and here you can see that 110.10 is in the active section. So that's done. And this is how you perform your auto landing or ILS landing. If you want to know more about ILS landing, you can click on this button to watch the video tutorial done by me on ILS landing. Now you have to set your auto brakes to 2 and reduce your speed to 200, sorry, we'll reduce it to 180 knots. And also you have to switch back your GPS nav/GPS mode switch back to nav. This is a very important step, never forget to switch this back to nav. And then also note your current heading. Your current heading is 000. You can see it here, your current heading is 1110. So set your heading to 000, and you can now resume this the simulation, and click the approach button here. You can set your flaps to 2. You can deploy the speed brakes to reduce your speed. You can see that my speed is dropping. Now I can retract the brakes.
Okay, we've cleared our assigned airspace block in time. Let's head back to Edwards.
NASA 37, report the runway in sight.
NASA 37 has the runway.
NASA 37 cleared visual approach runway 22.
Cleared for the visual, NASA 37.
NASA 237, contact the tower.
Over to tower, NASA 37. Tower, NASA 37 on the visual for 22.
Flaps 5.
NASA 37, winds calm, runway 22 cleared to land.
Cleared to land, NASA 37.
Set your speed brakes by pressing shift and slash. We can arm the speed brakes. Reduce your speed. I have reached my airspeed is now 173 knots.
Sink rate. Sink rate.
You put your gear down by pressing G. Increase your flaps and reduce your speed to 155 knots. We have perfectly aligned with the runway. You can see the two pink markers here. They are almost near the pink line, so let us now disengage the autopilot and land manually. As we touch down, we will reduce our thrust all the way back to idle.
Great job on that flight. We did 4 complete 20-second 0G parabolas. The instructor will probably want to fly with you again.
And we completed our 0G flight. Thank you for watching the video. See you on other videos. Bye bye.